What is freaking out? My name is Eve.
My name is Sarah. I was yawning.
And we are Burnt Out Perfectionist, a podcast hosted by two Canadian sisters. Surviving
and thriving. We are not YouTubers. We are just two regular people. Just some regular Joes over here.
We also don't show our face. Well, Sarah sometimes does. I don't show my face. So, secret, I feel like Dead Mouse or Marshmallow, but I'm not like a cool DJ.
My kid loves Marshmallow. No, because you're a healthcare worker and we like your anonymity.
Hey, anonymity!
I can't believe I said that word right on the first try. And then I am Sarah. I am a millennial mom, but I'm a support worker for our brother who has autism. And I'm just trying to find my way in this very interesting landscape. Trying to find some, those little side hustles, some creativity and fun.
What has been your survive and thrive of the past 4 days?
Well, the last time we recorded an episode, I had just become sick. I'm at the tail end, so now my voice is almost at the, the smelly cat stage.
Smelly cat.
Which I found out that the girl who actually sang Smelly Cat is Tara Strong.
Yeah.
The only reason I know that is because our brother loves voice acting and, watching all that stuff. And he was showing me the things, and she goes, oh, yeah, a lot of people recognize me from Friends. And I was like, what? And then she showed it, and I was like, oh, my God, shut up. That's hilarious. She also does, the voice of Bubbles and, some other people, too. But I thought that was my random fact. My thrive. I was very productive when I was feeling better because for the longest time I couldn't really bend over because the gross things would happen. But we had a very chill Easter because of the sickness that plagued my home. And we basically just sat outside with our friends who are also our neighbors, and their family came over and they had their dinner outside. We had our dinner outside, and it was just a very chill thing. I'm sad though. Spring break is over. My kid went back to school. She's so much fun. Yeah. What about you?
My survive was I was helping her mom rearrange her room, the furniture.
Yeah.
And somehow I pinched my hand, and smacked my head on a desk. And so I don't have a black eye or anything, but it's just it's a little sore.
Last time I helped her move her room around, I got this pair of leggings from Leah, and I was so excited. And there were these Lululemons, and there was this rogue finishing nail at the back of Mom's dresser, and I had no idea. And I ripped the leggings, and I was so sad. And I was like, oh, maybe I can take them back. But I recently found out that they have revived their policy.
Right.
Yeah.
And my thrive is I got my small business order from a couple of weeks ago.
And which small business is that?
It's called Just Be Kind Co. The owner's name is Bella Wolf. I think she's from WA in USA. Is that
Washington?
Wyoming?
That's Washington.
That's Washington?
Yeah.
Wyoming?
Wyoming is WY.
Oh, why do I always think there's a WAY?
I don't know why I know so much about America in general because I've lived in Canada my whole life, but I'm weird.
Have you ever, I don't know if I ever told you this, I saw this TikTok of Tom Holland saying that he thought that Pennsylvania was Pennsylvania. I thought it was too. Pennsylvania, not Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so did I with the spelling. What'd you get from your small business haul?
So I got a adorable tote bag. So they're doing a rebrand.
Oh,
the rebrand's supposed to launch. This is not sponsored, but Bella, if you would like to sponsor us, give us a holler because I'm currently coddling the 40 ounce tumbler that I purchased. So I got a tote bag that says "Buy yourself flowers." I got a trucker hat that says "Be kind to someone today." I got some pens. I got some bookmarks, and I got the most beautiful 40 ounce tumbler that's in the blue floral one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very nice quality, and it's very nice, and I'm very excited to take this to work because I need to drink more water.
And we will be posting an unboxing that is done by Eve. We'll find some fun music to put in the background. Do you talk during it or no?
Was I supposed to?
No, that's fine. You can talk during them, or you can just open them up, and then we can just write. We'll put the name of the product or whatever down, even though she's rebranding, so these products may not be available anymore. But, and then we'll take her business because we love ourselves a small business.
Yeah. Obviously, she doesn't know that I bought from them or that I bought it under my name, not my alias or anything.
Yeah.
My alias, like I'm famous or something.
Oh my God, friend.
But on the topic of small businesses, we own technically 2.
Well, this is not a registered business at this time.
No, but it's like a side hustle-ish.
I might register it just because, like, I feel like if you're going to buy a URL, you should probably just do the business just in case.
So we wanted to discuss our business venture that we've had specifically with Overwhelm the Label, which is our small business, our like actual small business, registered in Canada, everything.
Yeah,
it's registered.
Yes.
So we started we started the planning stages of Overwhelmed in April of 2021.
Yes.
So
as a happy distraction after our dad died.
So if you have not listened to our past episode about us talking about how our dad passed March 13th of 2021. And I am an instigator of creating, like, trying to get people moving so that we didn't get into a rut.
Yeah.
So mid-April, you sent me the video.
I know. I was like, I'm going to post that video on, I could probably post it on Burnt Out, and then you could post it on Overwhelmed on, like, we missed the anniversary because, that was another special day. But, we could post the video, I don't know, in the next, like, month or something, instead of posting it in, like, September when we would have, like, actually launched products.
Well, yeah. So we started that around mid-April, and our mom had kind of been wanting to be a part of it, but didn't, like, really know. We didn't really know what we wanted it to be. So this was even before, like, Burnt Out was even a thing. Obviously, Burnt Out was launched March of 2023. But I had always known that I'd wanted to use the name Burnt Out Perfectionist. And then when we were planning on doing this other business, we had discussed things and we kept on, like, throwing out different names, and we had, like, a notebook full of ideas. And originally the business name, there was 2 business names that we had. It was Monarch Studios or something.
Monarch something.
It was Monarch something. And then we had Aslan Designs.
Yeah.
Which we also learned that none of us could say it.
I, like, literally could not.
Aslan. Okay, so I went on Pinterest.
I was like, you need to explain why.
I was looking at different words. I like to have words that have meaning. And so I was looking at different words. I was looking at Gaelic words. I was looking at words that, like, meant sunrise. Like, all over the map. Just to have, like, a fun, cool word that was, like, one word that was, like, blank designs. But it could just be, like, Aslan or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we were planning this. Obviously, don't really start a business right after a large grief in the family.
Yeah. Well, like, it was, like I said, it was a happy distraction.
Yeah. So we kind of made plans for that. And then would have been, I think, because I was graduating college during that time. We all just kind of got distracted. Didn't have really time for that.
Oh, my kid was going to start school in the fall.
Yeah.
And there was just, like, so much stuff going on. Obviously, the vid was still on.
Yeah, so we were very, like, amateur in our knowledge of everything.
Yeah. Like, I knew some stuff because of, like, the job that I was eventually going to get hired for, because I didn't get hired until later on.
Yeah.
But, like, I had recognized e-commerce. I had looked into all that kind of stuff, like, before, like, Etsy stores, and bought from stuff like that, and different printers and everything. I also had a best friend who had started completely separate thing, but, like, I was hearing, like, her trials and tribulations when it came to it, and things that she was looking into, and her being like, you and Eve need to make stationery and clothing.
Yeah, so frequently I think we had gotten, like, I started making my work shirts in, like, when I started.
Okay, so explain to them, like, what you did for your work shirts.
So, my job is not like a generic healthcare worker job, so unfortunately there's not a lot of like apparel and stuff for it.
Yeah.
I originally was wearing scrubs to work, like a scrub top, and I was so tired of being asked if I was the nurse. So I'm not a nurse.
Yeah.
Obviously respect to nurses. I am not one.
But you're like, that's not my job. I do not have the answers to your question.
So I have always like been like a doodler, or I like to draw and stuff like that. So I bought an iPad for school, and I was the one doing like online notes. And so I downloaded Procreate and was like, well, like I'm going to see how I can do it. So I cut it out. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I started off with like, I think I did like I did a heart. And the little vital signs inside the heart are our dad's EGG lines.
Yeah.
So I had those. I had that one, and then I had like a rib cage and a diaphragm. And so I cut them out of my Cricut. I ironed them on into like this Bella canvas shirt that I got from Michael's. And I started wearing them to work because I am a very sweaty person. And like, I could not rock that. Like, a lot of people are wearing like the not tight, like those like underscrubs or like athletic shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It makes me so sweaty.
Yeah.
So I'm a cotton person. So I got a couple of those, started wearing them to work, and then people were asking me more about them. They were like, when are you going to sell them? So then I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then I think I had sent Sarah a couple of TikToks, because it just kind of was like, we had a planning session with her mom in April.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like died off. And then I think it was around...
It was hot. It was like July or something.
I think it was I think it was May of 2022.
Well, because we were always like slowly doing stuff and like sending things back and forth. But then I was just like, okay, well, I just got hired for this job. My kid was going back to school. You're like figuring out that whole like circus of how everything works. Obviously dealing with grief. Not only did we lose our dog, but we lost our dad. Like, there was just all of those things. And then you're helping like people around you go through those motions and everything. So then, our brother also graduated high school. So he was transitioning into like more of like community support versus school support. So like, it's not that we like ignored it. Like, it was always in the back of our mind, but obviously we had a lot of stuff going on. And when we did it, we wanted to do it right. But then it wasn't until like 2022 where we really started trying to figure out like deadlines and narrow down like more like designs and things that we really wanted to do. And there was a lot of inspiration based on like obviously all the people who started small businesses during COVID. And they did that via like Wix and Shopify and Etsy and like all of those things. And you were seeing all these people just live out their like creative dreams. And that was just like really exciting. And that's one thing that's kind of where we're like, well, like all these other folks are figuring it out. And I know I saw a TikTok where someone was just like, it doesn't have to be perfect, just start. You can rebrand, you can do whatever you can. Just start.
Yeah.
That way you have that commitment, you have that beginning. So yeah, I think it was more like 2022 where we really started to, like I was saying, like get into like the deadlines and the dates and all the other stuff of like, okay, I want to do this, or let's plan out these months. There were some things that we planned out like so months in advance, and then we were like, you know what, like Eve's tired at work, or I had shit going on, and I was like, maybe we're not going to do this, but we'll do this at the next one. And we're kind of going through the motions, and it's almost like a minute and like live through social media from a business side on each platform for like a month in order to understand it. Because like I tried to do it all at once, like figure everything out for like the podcast, and like it's really hard because Instagram wants one thing's one way. Like we figured out there were certain things like images and stuff like that like translated, but like when it comes to like promoting your small business, there's so many places to do it, and there's so many different ways to do it that you need to find the one that works. And then you're still trying to like process through all that stuff. So like that can be like overwhelming when you're starting to do it. And we were just like gathering as much information as we could.
And a lot of it too, like a lot of the information we got was from America.
Yeah.
So for like the podcast, for instance, when we started talking about it more, Sarah was getting more into like the editing portion of it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I like how, like the part that always got me was how do I get the audio to the platform?
Yeah.
And like nobody was talking about it. So like when, like I think it was pretty much a month that I was like going through probably 15, 16 different.
You were like, okay, you figure out how to edit. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's on GarageBand. I'm pretty sure that's similar to iMovie. Like I can figure that stuff out. You're like, and like get used to like Canva, because like I'd used it but not used it to the full extent. And then you were like, I'm gonna figure out how the fuck people get this on the internet without being like $1 million YouTubers.
So I think it was August of 2023 we posted a pin about how to do it. Well, I think August-ish.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to create a podcast,
Oh my lord.
it's not going to be that long.
No, it's not going to be that long, because you know what? If you're Canadian, because again, all these things vary by the country, but if you're Canadian, we have a pin that Eve made on Pinterest.
Yes.
We'll probably make some content or videos along the way that like show how to do certain things, because the amount of people who say, just grab a microphone and get up and start recording yourself, that's not the way that it works.
So we use 2 separate microphones. We both use Blue Yeti. At the beginning, we did not both use Blue Yeti.
No, I used the microphone that our dad bought me.
So we have 2, I call them dongles.
And I just call them USB splitters.
So we have 2 of those. Those are connected to the mics, and we record on GarageBand.
Yes.
So once you get the audio and somebody edits it, so obviously probably Sarah can do a video about how she edits and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you?
I've done a video of like a speed lapse of myself editing, because I'm like sitting there with my headphones on. I'm like snacking away, or I color, or I build like Lego while I do it.
Yeah, so she does that portion of it. And then what like is the best thing that I have found is that if you, I think it's like $17 Canadian a month. We pay for a subscription on rss.com.
Yeah.
It's an RSS feed website. So what an RSS feed is it basically creates a link so that when you are applying to go on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, they want that kind of link so that they make sure that your like podcast is legit. So when I signed up for RSS feed, I think your first episode's free.
Okay.
So you upload your audio, you fill out like all of the stuff you want, like the description and everything, and then you can post it. But then on the separate one that we use, you have to create all of the accounts on the different podcast forms.
Yeah, it's not like you sign into the RSS feed and push your podcast and it magically goes to everything. Like you have to individually go to those individual sites, find out their rules and regulations, get past all that kind of like red tape and then, or yellow tape. What do people say? Anyways, you have to get past all those things. So like that's a whole feed on its own.
So if you want to start a podcast, choose a name, make an account on every single possible like social media, even if you're not going to use it.
Yeah.
Before you even start recording. Don't get attached to the name. Make sure the name's like prepared.
Make sure there's no like other people who have the same name either.
Yeah. And then go into like looking into RSS feed and stuff like that. We can't talk to like the camera stuff because we don't
do the cameras just because of like Eve's work and stuff like that, and like it's just like a whole thing.
It's another part that maybe in the future we would be up to, but also that would mean that we would have to get out of our sweatpants. I would
definitely stay in my sweatpants.
I'm wearing right now should not be seen.
I'm literally wrapped head to toe in a fuzzy blanket from Costco, and I've got leggings and a hoodie on, and I have black fuzzy Crocs on with Croc terms, which, you know, Sarah 3 years ago probably even wouldn't afford Crocs.
No.
Because I thought the holes were where your dignity leaked out. And then our other sister bought me a pair of fuzzy Croc sandals.
I bought them first.
I know you bought them first, and then I was like, those are actually kind of cute. And then I tried them on, and I was like, okay, this is kind of life-changing. And I still have them, and I love them. Sorry, that was a random side tangent, but maybe don't knock it. Maybe you don't knock the Croc until you try the Croc. Then rock the Crocs.
Yeah, so if you create an RSS feed, you do have to pay for a subscription. Totally worth it, though, because then once you upload it, you can schedule it, you can publish it, you have transcripts, all of that. Bless the RSS.com for being our saving.
Well, and the other great thing that it does is, like, you upload the episode, you upload the podcast, like the actual art for the episodes, so you can change it. You can create snippets on there. You can create chapters on there. It also has an option for, it's like low, medium, high for accuracy. And you can create the transcript for the podcast. So it does all of that stuff. Because like when you record in GarageBand, it doesn't do that. There's lots of other programs that you could do that does all that stuff. So instead of accumulating all of those apps, if you sign up for the RSS feed, it helps with the distribution and it helps with a lot of those other things, especially if you know the time markers. You can make it'll make the snippets for you.
Yeah.
You put in the time markers and you're like, okay, from here to here. Okay, perfect. But also, don't take time markers ahead of time if you decide to go back and adjust anything, because then you're off by like 10, 15 seconds or not.
The other big thing, too, is if you're not interested in learning how to edit and stuff, for the first couple of weeks before kind of Sarah figured out how to do it, we used a website called Podcastle.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think you have to pay for. We just used the free trial. And it could, like, edit it for you. And there's a bunch of different things that you could do on there that kind of teaches you what to look for, how to edit. I think there's, like, a camera one. So definitely if you're like don't know anything about and want to just kind of get like almost like a handhold into it, Podcastle's pretty great. I think you can also, I don't know if we can.
So you can also do it in, Eve also has a subscription to Adobe. What is it called now? Adobe Cloud or whatever. And it's got all those
Office.
It has all the other like subset projects in it. So there's Adobe Premiere. You can like make YouTube videos, you can edit audio and stuff like that in it. Another great thing about that is they have a trial that we're currently in, and that trial has a whole podcast section, and it's phenomenal. It takes you from recording in the basement to sounding like you're doing an audiobook, and removes all that background stuff, except for like the coughs and sneezes. Like a lot of that stuff, if I leave it in, it's because I'm overlapping with Eve and I don't want to like take away from that. But there's lots of little things that you could do along the way. Look for the all-in-one programs instead of just being like, oh, I saw this app on TikTok, because in the end you'll have 25 apps.
I still have to delete some of them. Well, I had so many, and like each of them I was like, there's not a certain thing for this. I had so many sections on. So we were trying to do the podcast, and then we were also considering opening Overwhelmed at the same time.
Yeah.
Which, the funny thing is I found that, like, with the podcast stuff, the name was easy. Because I looked at Sarah and I was like, okay, do you actually want to do this? Because I'll do it with you. But I have one condition.
Oh, no, you forgot the other part. We've, like, talked about it in other episodes. But I was going to have my own podcast that I did myself called Unfiltered Millennial.
Oh, Unverified.
That's what it was, Unverified Millennial, because like at that time, that's when like everybody was like getting really into that during like COVID. And I was like, I feel like I don't really represent a millennial. I'm almost more like a Gen X and a Gen Z put together. Like there's like this like subsect of us in the like late 80s that were born in the late 80s where we're almost not like all these other people because the millennial thing spans so far. And I was looking into it and I was talking to my friend, and he gave me a bunch of other stuff because he had a podcast that he used to do all the time. And he was like, oh, if you do this and put it through here. And I was like, oh, okay, like, thank you so much. So I gave the information to Eve because she said, I want to do the deep dive on all the stuff. I want to find like the slickest way to do this. And I was like, okay, sweet. So we did that. And then I was like, well, I don't know. Okay, well, and I was totally like overthinking it, freaking myself out about like subjects and stuff. And then she just looks me dead in the face and goes, if you want to do a podcast, I'll do it with you. And I was like, what?
Well, and then I was like, I have 2 conditions.
Yeah.
I can't use my face. And then the other one was,
I'm not using my real name. I can't use my face.
yeah, basically I need a persona. And the other thing is that I want to name a Burnt Out Perfectionist.
And I was like, that's the best name in the entire world.
Which is like Burnt Out Perfectionist came to me. I was going to start a blog. No, I was going to start a blog, and our other sister was going to help with it. And it was going to be like a summer camp, like self-care blog. So it was.
I didn't know the aspect of what you guys were.
Oh my God. It was so.
Sounds very.
Our sister was going to help, but she was like, how can I assist you?
And then she went to hair school, so she was busy.
Yeah. So it was basically going to be like having a toolkit and being like almost like a Girl Guides, Boy Scout type vibe for adults, but it was all digital.
I'm just like laughing because like neither one of you guys were in Girl Guides.
I know. Well, she was in Brownies.
No.
Sparks?
She was in Sparks.
I'm sorry. There's so many names.
She was like in Sparks, which is like the preschool kindergarten one. And that they were like pink shirts. So you have the attention spans of a net.
So that was kind of like where I was like, man, sometimes I literally said, sometimes I feel like I'm just like a burnt out perfectionist. And I was like, oh, I really like that name.
Well, no, the funny thing was, is you said that to me and you're like, I'd like to call it burnt out perfectionist. I'm like, oh my God, I get told all the time that I'm a perfectionist and I better watch it because if I'm too much of a perfectionist, I'll get burnt out. And that just like, when you said that, I was like, that's like, I don't know. I feel like we hit the jackpot.
And so I also liked it because I could say it's a bob.
Oh yeah, it's a bob. So burnt out perfectionist, separate words. Do I accidentally write burnt out as one full word? A lot of the times, I sure do. Do I spell overwhelmed incorrectly? All the time.
We actually have the other email because I spelled it wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so then that's kind of what happened with Burnt Out is we were figuring out that, and then we recorded, actually, I have a tiny box of memories that I wrote all of the things down. Yeah. We recorded our trailer for Burnt Out February 3rd of 2023.
Yeah.
And then
it was really cold downstairs.
It was really cold. And so we had recorded a whole episode. That was before I had learned how to do things properly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that episode is no longer with us.
Oh, it is with us. It's on the drive.
It's just not.
It's not even like when that one went all weird, like a month ago. It's like super echoey. And, like, the mics are not balanced. Eve sounds like a whispering mouse in the background.
Yeah.
And I sound like an overbearing bear, which is me in general. But, you know.
But we had done that. Then we had posted our first episode on March 13th.
Yes.
And so
we like to call it Dead Dad Day.
Literally the only reason why I remember that.
Yeah.
And then we kind of were starting more of the conversations about overwhelmed.
I think it was because we had like a basis of like understanding some information. Like when it came to like social media, we're like, okay, we kind of get how to do this stuff. So we could totally do this. And like what I was saying was like earlier was like we kept seeing all these people doing all this stuff. Like you'd see it on like TikTok, especially during the pandemic. And so many people just like following their creative dreams. And we're like, you know what? We can fucking do this.
Also, I feel like what I remember, like, the main, like, spark of it is that whenever seasons change, and we were changing from, like, winter to spring, the amount of clothing that we were like, man, like, none of this is, like, comfortable. Nothing this is, like, kind of what I like anymore.
Well, and that's the whole thing is, like, there's so many things that, like, change. So, like, sometimes I'll get, like, a sweater from Walmart, men's section, because that way they're actually long enough. And it'll be great. It'll be like the perfect weight, the perfect fit. But sometimes it would be like plain. And I'm like, I kind of want something on it, but like not too much. Like everybody has their own like niche when it comes to stuff and the way they would like things to look. And then there was like other like well-known Canadian brands that I would buy stuff from. And like, I love the quality of it. And I'm like, I love this. And the designs are like simplistic. I'm like, these are great. I'm like, but I would like it to say something like this instead of something like this. And that was the whole thing. And then I was like, just seeing how much even like joy came out of people just having these things. And I was seeing like a niche of people who were like, well, I don't really like this kind of font, or there's like this, or I want something simple, but I want something fun. Because it was always like, if you wanted something that was almost like snarky, it always was like in Times Roman. It was like auto, like fake put on a shirt online that you would see. And it always came in like bright red and like neon blue. And it was like black printing, which was kind of like the beginning of when people started using distributors and stuff like that. Because like, to be totally honest, neither one of us have room to house blanks and all that other stuff. We buy our own stuff off our sites.
Oh, yeah.
So that way we test it out before it gets launched and make sure that the things that we've allocated for it and everything works. But like, that was the big thing, is we noticed that there was colors that we wanted, or fun things that we wanted, or I love like the doodles or the drawings and stuff like that like Eve does. Or there was like little ones that like I would make and people would be like, oh, that'd be fun. I'm like, oh, I'd actually love, see these 6 phone cases? I'd love this from this from this, and I'm piecing it all together. And so many times I had people say, then why don't you make it?
And I think too, before it wasn't like super well known about print on demand and what goes into it. So it would have been, it probably would have been April, May of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
We had posted our podcast. At that time, we were going 1 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we were figuring out everything.
Yep.
And April, May, we were like, okay, we get the gist of it now. June, we were like, let's go every week.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did have some time that opened up.
They did open up. But,
I love when I got like laid off and Eve just looks me straight in the face. She's like, it's okay, we got this. I'm like, okay. She's like, also, I think it would be great if we started recording it weekly. I'm like, okay, I have a task that I can do weekly that I record and that I can edit. And then at least I can add some stuff too. So that way I'm not just sitting here going, I have one job to support our brother and I have nothing else to do. And I'm just sitting here hanging.
Well, the other thing is like, as you can probably see, being the instigator, you got laid off. I was home that day.
Oh, I also got diagnosed 2 weeks before by a psychologist and our family doctor with the ADHD.
Yeah. So, gets laid off. I was like, okay, we got this. We could do something like that. Everybody else is like, is she doing okay? And I'm like, it's fine. We're fine. We're great.
I know, because like your phone blows up because people care about you, but also you're just like, I want to find something else. Like I just need to find, I want to do something fun. I want to do something creative. I want to do something for like, well, it would be us, but like, you know, like myself versus like working for someone else. Like if I can, I would love to do that.
Yeah. So then we started doing like basic designs, which the ones that I started off doing were freaking terrible. Do you remember the first ones that I said?
No.
Oh, I deleted them off of Canva.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I'll go look on Canva after.
Oh my god, they were so bad. They were so bad. So we had like gone on Canva. We were starting to like do different things. We didn't know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
At that time, I was helping one of my coworkers start their own business. I was helping with all the graphics of it, and I was like, I can do this. Also, there's a graphic designer in the group that was working with it, and she was like, why are you not doing this? And I was like, I can figure it out.
Yeah. You can do that. You can totally do something for yourself too after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we had decided, I think mid-May is when we were like, we're going to be serious about it. It's going to be great. Mm-hmm. And then June, we started doing the podcast every week. And we kept like working on overwhelmed. We were like, what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? What do we want to offer? Because there is a lot of options.
There's a lot of options, and it's like, oh, I want to offer this. And at first, you almost want to offer everything. But then we quickly learned that everything means that you had to make the individual templates.
Yeah.
which individual templates are fun because if you're doing something that has like a varying model, like phone cases. Also, please explain to me why there is not someone out there who does like a bunch of like Google Pixel cases for phones. Because you can get iPhone and like Samsung, but it just usually says like Samsung or it says Android. And because of all the models are so different, because the cameras get bigger or the position of a button is different, like if you want to have everything to be situated in a similar way, you have to go in and manually adjust those.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also, there's nothing better than when Eve and I are completely stoked on a design and then we download it and go to put it in and it's like, this is too transparent. Can you please redo this?
Oh my God. I feel like we should almost do like a roll of like all of the failed designs.
I honestly think we should because there's ones that didn't make it because we were putting the stuff in. It didn't get recognized by the software or we wanted to do the thing, but there was only one specific way to do the thing. And
oh my God, there was so many like almost collections that we had for our first one that we didn't know if we wanted or not.
We're like, yeah. My favorite thing is Eve be like, well, like, do we love it? She's like trying to be nice. And I'm like, no.
Do we love it? No.
Right.
I don't.
I'm like, I don't know if I'd wear that. She was like, okay. And it's not just about us making stuff for us because obviously you have to make stuff for a general audience. But I was like, I don't really see the appeal. Like,
yeah.
It's like, it's not niche like some of the stuff that's out there that a lot of people are looking for. It's like so far off niche that it is like in its own universe.
Well, then, and a big part of it too is like you try. So if you're in Canada, certain print-on-demand distributors don't go like translate to Canadian.
Oh yeah,
change it to Canadian. So you'll like buy samples and you're like, oh my God, this is such an affordable price, and then you get charged in American.
Oh no, but you don't just get charged in American. You get charged VAT.
Oh my! So that's the other thing is that when you're in Canada too, you have like. If you have a certain, I won't bash any of the other print-on-demands, like I'm not going to say their names.
Yeah.
If you have them, you're like, okay, great. And then shipping is like astronomical.
That was a big thing that we were like, okay, then how are all these people getting like lower shipping rates? Or like what, where Eve went on like a fact-finding mission to find another one because we used one for almost a year. And it was just like you said, it was astronomical because obviously, they locate like where say if someone, let's say that Andy gets a purple shirt and that purple shirt is only located in the printing office that is in Georgia, in the United States. Great for Georgia. Love to support their economy. Good for them. But what happens is because that is then purchased, then the shipping cost goes up to almost the same price as the fucking item. And then they get this magical bill. And if you miss the freaking email, you get it from the delivery service, which could be USPS, if you were in America. But this is the reason why we don't do American at this time. We only do Canadian, is because you got to do Canada Post, what are DHL, Purelator, FedEx. Like there's all those ones, and you have to pay that fee before you receive it, or you get a little knock on the door and they ask you to pay it while you're standing there.
Yep.
Which, if anybody. Any Canadian would totally understand this because if you go to buy anything, you go to convert your cart, you're like, oh, fuck. That's so much more.
Also, like, it'll be like, okay, you convert your cart, and then it's like $80 for shipping from one item.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the really difficult thing. So then about, I mean, even like 6 months in from doing it, I started the finding a new one.
Yeah, you started looking at other stuff. Every once in a while when you would get like annoyed and be like, oh, I wish this feature was available, you would like talk to the distributor that we were using. And then you would look into other stuff and then they would magically implement it, which was sweet. But also like we were trying to find a way to like cut it so we were only using printers within Canada so that way at least we could cut VAT. Like, at least if you were paying shipping, you knew that's all that you were paying and you weren't getting some, like, other thing after. But then, like, we couldn't find ones that worked well for phone cases for Canada. And then we actually have a lot of demand that comes in from the States. And we're like we've mentioned in episodes before, we're just trying to find like a tax person we can talk to about this, because last thing you want is the IRS up your ass or the CRA. And there's like so many different factors when it comes into it. It's not like you just like slap a design on something. You make one version of that design, slap it on, and go.
So there's like the whole portion of the processing, like getting it in and everything. But also, if you're in Canada, a big thing that happens is that you have to register your name.
Yeah.
So to get a name request, depending on how it is, it took us almost a month.
Yeah.
Then you have to register your business.
And they changed.
So
they took away the one-stop service. This is just my like PSA. There used to be this one-stop service in Canada where you would go through and it had all these wonderful stages and it made it very simple. And someone developed a very fancy system and then hooked it up to like the British Columbia system, because like we're located in BC, and I think it's just us in Alberta that are hooked up to the system right now. Mm-hmm. But you have to sign in with your very specific like BCID registry, and you have to sign into all these other things, and it's completely different. And I'm not gonna lie, it's very confusing.
It is the most frustrating thing on the face of that. So you get the statement of registration, but then you need to get your Canadian business license. So then you have to go through, and there's like certain codes that you need to do that follows the government, all of this type of thing. So that takes probably 6 months.
Also, there are 85 different variations of apparel and online ordering codes to choose for the CRA.
Yep. 85.
Yeah.
So then you get that done. You're like, great, wonderful. So by that time, you're like, oh my God. So it's not like you can just like quickly drop it in, because we like to make sure that we have everything in place. So then we were making our emails, trying to kind of figure out our vibe and everything. And then you're like kind of waiting for everything to like come. So then once everything is loaded in, then you have to get like another business license. You have to get other registration. Yeah. You have the emails back and forth with the government.
Well, of course you want to like, we had already bought like our domain. We had already set up our store, which is on Shopify. Uh-huh. And we were like figuring out putting all the stuff on there. At least their site's easy to use, and they like have a lot of like integration apps and stuff like that.
And like by the time we were ready to launch, I think the website changed 5 times.
Yeah.
The
original view of our website was like an urban feel with like neon.
It was like black. It was dark gray.
Yeah.
Neon green, neon blue, and purple.
And it had like a brick, and it was very like urban street vibes.
Yeah. And then
Eve was like, I know this is like, that's kind of more me. She's like, I feel like we need to something that meets in the middle between the two of us. And yeah. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
So then there was Pinterest boards about that. The logo that we started with was the logo that we had once we had kind of like agreed that we were going to start it.
And we just, the whole thing is, there's a girl who does like all these videos on TikTok about this. Like, you want to make sure it's not too like niche. You want to make sure that it's like very simplistic. That's why our logo is very simple. Every once in a while, we'll like change the font. Like if you look at the website right now, overwhelmthelabel.com, you'll see that like Eve changed the font for one of them, but we'll do that kind of every once in a while to like freshen it up or add some little like doodads on the logo.
I like colors and stuff, but it's like the same baseline logo.
Yes.
And so then we had ordered our first ones. And another big thing about print on demand is the shipping time.
Holy shit.
So the one that we started with took almost a month.
Because when you order samples as an individual, you're not seen as priority.
No, it doesn't matter either way.
Oh, I found that all the stuff that we were looking up online, that people said when you order it through and you're ordering it for yourself, it would take longer because they would prioritize customers over you.
So,
and not your customers. These are just you're sitting with your store, it's not even active. And you're like, okay.
So then the other thing is that the one that we were trialing wouldn't tell you when things were out of stock.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
So you couldn't have, and then they wouldn't restock. So a lot of things were out for a very long time. And I'm like, well, I want that specific color. want this, I want this. So then we switched manufacturers. We have faster shipping now.
Yeah.
Which you never know until you like have to set it up and trial it. So instead of being almost a month, it's an average of like, I've gotten one item in like 5 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes 10, like 5 to 10 days versus 30. There's different colors and stuff.
That was the whole thing, is like, we wanted to make sure that we could have like a variation of color. And it got to the point where the original distribution thing that we were using, they were only sticking to kind of like the basic. When you think of basic blanks, you got your burgundy, your navy, your gray, your dark gray, your black, and your white. And those were the only ones that they had. And we were like, I'm like, like, I love fucking purple and green. Like, those are not any of those colors. So that was the whole thing, is like Eve went down like a whole thing. We ordered from another distribution thing, and then found out that they charged an American.
That was a fun big statement.
Yeah. Eve messages me. So, have to adjust the email because they charge like 35% or whatever.
So the other thing that really frustrated me about this is that I attempted to cancel the order once I found out.
Yeah.
I had not, in the little thing it says, we can only refund you if it's before it's gone into production.
Yeah.
So I
messaged right away.
I literally, like 2 minutes after, I was like, oh my God, nowhere on the website did it say US. It said Canadian. So email. I get the email 2 minutes after I got an email saying it's in production. They're like, we're sorry, you could only refund you for the shipping. And then we could only refund you for it. And then you wouldn't get the items. And I'm like, okay, so the shipping was like $30.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, great. So I'm going to be like out $160 or something. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'll just get it.
Yeah.
It took so long.
It took so long, and it came in like random little packages along the way.
Oh my God, it was so frustrating. And it wasn't like a couple things alike. It was like, I don't know, I was very frustrated with the whole process. So I was like, nope, not doing that one. Moved on to the next one. And then we kind of landed on the one that we have now.
Yes, which I'm still getting to know, but it's even more user-friendly than the previous one, which the previous one was user-friendly. The only reason why it was like a little bit harder is because like the first time we'd use something like that, we were both like figuring out different ways. And they were adding features left, right, and freaking center.
But then it was like shipping, VAT, and everything. So,
yeah.
Then it was like, okay, this one offers more colors. It offers kind of the items that we want and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I think with the next collection coming up, it is my favorite. I am very...
Oh my God, she has not stopped talking about it.
Oh my God. I am so excited to wear one of the hoodies. It's like a spring, summer type vibe. Kind of figuring out kind of different things to do, how to market better.
And we'll also have different items because we know that like not everywhere is between 20 and 30 degrees. Like, and not everybody wears a hoodie and stuff like that. So we'll have some additional items that we haven't had before and haven't been able to offer, which is great. Also, even I fit the same in some things and we fit different in other items. So we can test them out.
Specifically, hats.
Yeah, I was like, Eve has all of the brains.
My head size is I think it's the same size as your husband's.
My husband is an 8 in snapbacks, I want to say. And I
think you're 4.
No, like I can wear children's hats and they'll actually fit my head. If my hair is shorter, like I do have quite thick hair, but if my hair is shorter, I can wear children's hats. So can our other sister, because we were laughing. But I can just wear a standard hat, and I have zero issue.
Yeah, and like for specifics too, we are medium largest if we want it to be fitted.
Yeah,
and then if we don't want it to be fitted, I wear everything in an extra large because it's comfier.
Oh, and for example, I was wearing a 3XL hoodie on the weekend with biker shorts.
And
confusing? Yes. So was the weather.
And unfortunately, also, I have been blessed in the chest.
Oh, yeah. We both have huge boobs, and we're like right around the same height. I think I'm like half an inch taller than you.
Yeah.
So I'm 5'10", and Eve is like 5'9.5".
Actually, I'm 5'10".
I'm 5'10".
I can't measure at work.
I got measured by the doctor.
I've never had the doctor measure me.
Oh, really?
No.
We were having some debate, and I was like, can you measure me? And he laughed. Because I am literally 5'10" on the dot. And so, like, we are taller. So that's why that's one of the many reasons why we lean towards gender neutral. We wanted to offer it for everybody. We wanted to make sure we had our tall girls on fit.
Also, anything that is on our website is unisex.
Yes.
Just so
everybody can wear it. Because you can wear whatever fucking colors you want. My husband has a Pepto-Bismol pink hoodie and matching sweatpants, and he loves wearing that sweatsuit. I have like it's a fuchsia? I would say fuchsia. And it's also, they're from that Old Navy gender neutral line. I want it so bad. I want everything back in that section. It was the best. It was just these solid, bright, happy colors. Everything was really quality.
It was men's sizing. So
I think that was another thing that like pushed us, is we got so pissed off when they removed that.
And then it was the most, like, it was like every color imaginable, and it was great. But yeah, so that one will be coming out. Well, follow us on Instagram and you'll kind of figure it out.
Yeah,
and it's happening because we have quite a few things we need to pass.
Yeah, we're gonna try a different approach, do some lead ups, and then we're just figuring everything out. And that's one thing that you need to remember. And I've learned a lot of stuff like this from like our family members. I've watched our dad and I watched our grandpa and stuff like that start businesses. I've watched our mom like start a daycare at one point. And I've watched, like I said, one of my best friends, she started a business, and like the trials and tribulations when it comes to that. And then there's people like my friend Heather, who's had like a really great, like, it would be, she won't get mad if I say the wrong thing, but like cosmetology. So she does esthetician. There's a word that I have a hard time saying. But she's constantly like upgrading. Like she does brows, she did microblading, and she does lashes, and she does like all this stuff. And she does one of those things, and I've seen how she's like done that from her home or done that from like a lounge studio setting. And there's just all those other things. So like you can find inspiration in everyone around you. You can find it from people online, but like you can do the thing, but we want to make sure like this isn't negative. This is just, it is harder to do the thing, and it will take you longer than what you anticipated.
I think also too, if you're not, it might be different if your background in kind of like marketing and social media. And
also, I feel like America has a lot better resources. I'm going to be totally honest. If you're American, you probably have a lot better resources.
Well, and a lot of it too, I feel like when you do the different things in social media, like posting at specific times.
Yeah.
There's so many different platforms. Even trying, so like when we started, the way that we kind of tried to separate it a couple months in is like, I would do Overwhelmed for a month while Sarah did Burnt Out, and like flip-flopped. And I think November of last year, I'm not calling you out. I don't want to.
No, I was literally like, so like, do you like doing the Burnt Out ones? And she's like, yeah, I mean, like I can do them. But it was almost weird because like, I would make the clips and like send them to you because I was the one editing it, and then I put this together, and then you'd have to listen to the clips and then find the stuff. And I was like, okay. And then you were doing a lot of the other stuff when it came to like Overwhelmed. Like we were looking at the designs and coming up with ideas together and doing all those kind of things and picking items and picking colors. But then it was like, I would sit there and I would be like, okay, so like, how do you do this? And obviously like I could learn how to do that along the way, but it was kind of like, I felt like I was 50% in both ways. And I was like, I feel like I could do 100% over here and be like, yo.
Well, I also feel like if you like think of it, like Burnt Out is like, I do setup and I upload it. We record and then I pass it off to you.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed, we both do it. And then I was kind of like, I passed off.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, like both of us were doing stuff, and it was like, it was just obvious that like both of us had different ideas for like the different sections.
Well, and it was also like, if you look up how to promote a podcast versus how to promote like a clothing apparel line, it's in some ways similar, but some ways like very different.
So then it was like we were both doing it. We were both putting on different hats, and we were like flip-flopping between the two. And then I was like, okay, let's make a plan. We'll just separate it.
Yeah.
And so we were switching back and forth, and I was like, I'm okay with making stuff for Burnt Out, but I'm also okay with making stuff with Overwhelmed. And November, Sarah was like, I have no idea, like, kind of what I'm supposed to be putting out. I don't know, like, kind of what direction we're supposed to do and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with doing just one, especially, like, in the past, like, month and a half. There's not as much in Overwhelmed, but there will be more in the summer.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like planning stages and stuff like that. So if you noticed, Burnt Out is mainly run by Sarah, official social media wise, unless I randomly come up in the
and then she's like, I'm gonna post this. I'm like, okay.
I usually send it to you first.
No, my favorite thing is like I fall asleep early. Like that's I do the ADHD pass out.
Yeah.
And I'll get like okay, so I didn't hear back from you, but I feel like it matches the tone of a lot of stuff that you have. So I posted it and I'm like, oh, it's cute.
Yeah, so a lot of it was like August of last year, I was like, man, I'm so tired with there not being a lot of pins and stuff about actually how to start a podcast.
After our utter frustration of figuring this shit out.
So I started kind of posting a little bit of the educational section of it while we were learning, and then Overwhelmed is like we're trying. Like I feel like I'm starting to get a vibe of like kind of what to do.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like there's always something new that you find like when you go along the way, and like sometimes I'll look at something and I'll be like, did you do this? And you're like, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I'm like, that's fine. I only know that because I was literally like reading through or helping Jen, or I saw this thing like how to do it or whatever, and I've had some experience with Shopify before, and like even like with their like the sites and the construction stuff in the background, and I'm like, oh, I never thought to tell you that, or I never thought to go in there. And then you gotta love two-factor authentication, because anytime I want to go and do something, if I've cleared the cache, well, you know, I'm like, so Eve, can I get that code? And you know she's working because I'm inspired. I'm like, let's take this motivation and fucking roll. But like things that we've learned are double checking to make sure things are connected with your distributor when you announce your products. Making sure all the products are loaded properly. You can load them ahead of time and then set a timer for them to reveal in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did that. It didn't work.
No, you did that and it didn't work. Well, that was, okay, the last time I think that was because of the time change. Like I saw other people who were talking about stuff.
I genuinely forgot that there was a time change. And so we were...
That's just the last one. The first one, we had so many random things that like, I didn't double check something that I was going to double check. And like Eve's like, I went through everything that I did. And like out of all humility, I fixed it for an hour and a half.
And then I had no idea.
Oh, and I, not only was I like fixing it by doing all the stuff that I knew how to do, I was messaging people that I knew. I was messaging my best friend. My best friend at one point is like, I love you. You are very overwhelmed at this point. Lack of the pun. Give me a freaking login and just let me sign in. I can figure this out. I'm like, okay. And then she'd be like, it's one thing, you know how to do it. And she said the thing and I went, son of a bitch. I went in and did it and got her to double check.
So, like, with like, I don't want to say that Burnt Out is easier, but like, it's more like you upload it, and since we can like the RSS feed, you like plug it in, it schedules, it works.
We found a flow and a thing that works, and there's not like no website builder, no freaking e-commerce. There's nothing that does stuff that easy when it comes to clothing distribution, because nothing is an all-in-one. Everything needs to connect. Everything is two separate things. And I know some people are probably like, then why don't you do it through Amazon? Well, you know, Jill, there's 85 million people selling stuff on Amazon. And we want to have our own website and we want to have our own thing. And maybe that's something that we'll do in the future. But like, it's just, there's always like one thing. And I always laugh. I'm like, what's it going to be this time? And sometimes I sit there like sweating.
Well, because then you get everything. Like, the first
you can be over prepared and something random happens.
And you're like, oh, okay. Like the one, the most common issue I find that we have is pre-scheduling content to go out and then being like, where did it go?
Oh, this is just like my personal ask right now. If you have a small business, we have Canva, and I know that you can schedule stuff through Canva, but we've had some little like hickety ups when it comes to that. This is not Canva that we're speaking to. And I'm not going to name the exact platform that causes me the most amount of annoyance, but what is your go-to social media tool for posting stuff? Is there one that is low cost and Canadian friendly? Because like, honestly, I don't want to spend $400 a year on a program, and I would love to have something that easily translates. But when we have tried other ones, they have done my favorite thing where they give you the dimensions and the pixels of the freaking images, and you put it in, and somehow the top half of your image is cut off where the fucking text is. That makes your video where you look like a dumbass be funny. Like,
oh my god. So currently, for everyone, I use Meta Business.
Yes.
So I use Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I use Pinterest Scheduler. I use TikTok Scheduler.
Yeah.
Which you can only schedule on your phone.
Okay,
or like,
and another thing with one thing that I'd like to put out there, and this could be a miseducation process. TikTok is very easy. The TikTok Business Center to upload things. Great. Fabulous. Can you please tell me why there's no like little caption tool? I click on it.
It don't like.
It don't work. Or it doesn't do certain things. Or I find that one's the kind of the easiest. The Pinterest one I found very confusing. I will not speak about the other one.
I've gotten the other one to work. On TikTok, I find that it's pretty easy to like figure out on the computer. My biggest frustration is why do they make like the app version different than the online website?
Oh, and then you'll be like, oh, this is great. I'll just hop on here and do this. And then it like does something stupid or goes all over the place or is completely different and you can't actually do anything.
I don't like, I'm not.
Versus like, here, this is a learning moment for social media. We had a snafu that happened with the last collection when we went to post it. Like we said, there was a time change. I am in the hockey arena. My daughter is about to hit the ice and play one of her last fucking regular season games for hockey. And I went on the app, and the app only does so much for Shopify. But I know that I can sign in on Google and get the full version of my Shopify store and go in and fix every fucking thing I needed to do on my little tiny iPhone and get it all figured out. When you try to do that with other ones, they don't work properly or they default you to the app. I know in the past I used ones like Buffer, which I haven't used for a while. I know Planoly was a big thing.
Planoly? It's not free anymore.
Oh, no. And then there's HubSpot is another one where they put them all together. Yeah. And we understand that you got to do the things and then connect the things to the other things. We did that with the RSS feed for this podcast. But it's just like, it's finding those things that everyone's like, oh, do batch content and cut down on the time and everything. But like, I'm going to be honest, sometimes batch content suggestions, they're boring.
Also, like, batch content is great until you get really annoyed with your batch content.
Yeah, until you're like, oh, wow, that is very similar. But, like, things that I really love is how you can reuse TikToks and put them in as, like, YouTube shorts, as long as you download them without, like, the symbol on them.
And Instagram Reels.
And those can work really great. And Instagram Reels. So if you have an Instagram story, Instagram Reel, TikTok, and Shorts.
And Pinterest.
Pinterest does it too?
So if you start with the Pinterest format size, it links then to the TikTok and the Instagram Reel and the YouTube Short.
Okay, so I did the one, it ends up coming up on Canva as just like mobile video.
Yeah.
But you choose like Instagram story or whatever. So that way it's that right format. So that way it translates. But like, that took us like a while to figure out because they'll even list the other things. And like I said, you got to do it. Everything is trial and error. And like, if you keep at it, you can. And like, we're doing our best with what we have. Like Eve has a full-time job as a healthcare worker. I have a full-time job where I help our brother. I support our brother and help him do all his things and figure out the stuff. And not only that is like, Eve's a person. our mom is the person, and we all like work together. Obviously, I have a husband and a kid, and there's activities and there's all that other stuff. And we're doing everything to the best of our ability. And just I'm constantly inspired by all the people that I see online.
I would also, like, I'm not going to say the name. I had a small business reach out to us asking for advice on marketing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was very nice of it, like, very honest about, like, hey, we're still starting out. And when I got that, when the owner, like, the person contacted me back, they're like, oh, I thought you were making thousands of dollars, and, like, fully cut off the conversation.
But also, okay, so you had that approach, but I almost think that's because of the, like, illusion that's put out online where people are like, oh, well, if it looks a certain way, you're going to be making all this money. Or because, like, so many people think that you can just drop everything and make thousands. We went into this being realistic. We knew that stuff would take a bit. Things would take a bit. And do we celebrate every single view and every single download? We sure as fuck do. Do we look at the analytics page and we're like, oh my God, what do we have? Oh my God, look at us. Like, oh my God, how did this work? And stuff like that. Like, we celebrate every single thing. Everything is a small win towards a big win. And we're having fun when we do this. And that's the big thing is, like, my husband's like, oh, I can see how much, like, joy you guys have. I can hear it in your voice. You guys have so much fun doing it. And I will full on admit that I'm, like, really bad at telling people that we do a podcast. Like, I'll, like, casually say something. I'm like, oh my God, I talked about that on my podcast the other day, like, randomly. And then I'm like, people are like, I'm sorry, did you say that you have a podcast? I'm like, I do. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's with my sister. And then sometimes I feel, like, funny because where we live, everybody kind of knows everybody. And I want to make sure that, like, obviously my sister stays safe, given her position that she's in. But also, like, I'm like, but I also want to talk about, like, this, like, podcast that we have because it's, like, so much fun. And, like, we love coming in and just, like, shooting the shit, editing it and putting it out. Like, it's, like, a very productive job hobby. It's a jobby.
I think, too, like, I'm really bad at, I don't talk about the podcast work, obviously. I'm really bad at talking about overwhelmed, which is really funny because
I'll wear stuff and be like, someone asked me about my sweater. Somebody asked it. Like, I wore that, the British Columbia one that we have.
Yeah.
With the picture, and I had green, and I wore it to a hockey tournament. And because I was excited to wear it. And it was a great way for the hockey arenas in the area that we were in. And I walked up and the moms were like, oh my God, that is a beautiful green on you, Sarah. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then I opened up my atypical hockey mom long vest, long puffy vest, because it was actually warm where we were sitting. And they're like, wow, I love that design and that printing stuff. I'm like, oh, thanks. This is, like, actually the apparel company I do with my sister. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. And then one of the moms goes, so let me get this straight. You have a podcast and you have an apparel company? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, when do you sleep?
I don't.
And I was like, that's funny because I only really started doing that in the last year.
I think, too, like, when, like, sometimes people at work will make, like, jokes of, like, oh, Eve is just Mary Poppins. Anytime we need something, she's like, hold up, let me pull it out. I feel like if I was better at, like, talking about it.
I think, okay. I think we're very Canadian. And I'm meaning in this way. I feel like there's a lot of pride, especially when I see a lot of people online. And I'm going to lean into the niche of a lot of them are American. They're very proud. They're very, like, here we go. And I'm not saying that Canadians aren't proud, but we are known for the country that says sorry the most. And I think it's kind of like you almost don't want to be that person who's talking about another business or whatever. But one thing that I'm trying to, like, change in my mind is, like, this is not a multi-level marketing scheme. This is not another, like, kind of business where you buy into it and then we're, like, doing it from there, which those were great. Like, the folks who hustle Tupperware, like, you go.
Oh my God.
The folks who hustle, like, there's, what's the other one that pops up on my thing all the time? Like, Happy Juice. It's like a vitamin supplement that goes into your water. And one of the moms, she brought that up. But what I loved is, like, she's very subtle about it. especially when she's like sitting in a setting with a bunch of people. And then she was like, oh, like I just like drink this stuff. And someone's like, oh, like what is it? And it's not like she's leading you into the conversation. It's like it comes up organically. And that's one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that the conversations are organic. We want to make sure that people don't feel like they have to buy stuff. We would love if people bought stuff, but also it's like we're getting to the point where we like need to be like, hi, my name's Sarah and I have a podcast called Burnt Out Perfectionist and an apparel line called Overwhelmed Apparel. And I'm super proud of both of them and I love them so much. Come see what I do.
I think for me, and it's more of an insecurity. So like I started because it's like both of them are, I never thought of having a podcast. To me, I never thought I was interesting enough to have a podcast.
Which I think that's hilarious.
And I, like, truthfully, my intentions were never to do a podcast. I saw that Sarah wanted to do one, and I was like, sure, I can figure out how to do it. I despise the sound of my own voice. I hate.
She does not listen to our episodes.
Oh my God, it makes me want to gag.
I'll be like, so just to let you know, if you're listening to the episode, I just cut out this and I actually placed it here because it made a lot more sense. Obviously, because we're a little scattered. We're normal people and we have ADHD. So I was just like, I'll pull this and put this over here. And she looks me dead in the face with her mouth open and goes, I've never listened to a single episode. I was like, you bitch, seriously? I sit in edit
months. I didn't admit it for 8 months.
I said, well, I know that you listened to the first bit because you wanted to hear it. And you were like, oh, it's great. I listened to it. Yeah, that's totally a seamless intro and outro. I'm like, now
asked me to listen to the intro and the outro.
I know you did that. I was like, oh, that was a literal ask.
You literally asked me.
No, so it's a literal ask. So that's what you did. And I was like, oh my God, I never asked you to listen to it. And then it's really funny because like when I'm at like a parent support group meeting or my husband drives around listening to my podcast. Hi, Ben. And then I had like other people who like brought it up because I made like a TikTok of like a Temu haul. They brought me joy after my laugh. And then I mentioned, oh yeah, I have like a podcast. And one of the moms at Charlie's school goes, oh my God, I didn't know he had a podcast. I looked it up like right away and like totally subscribed to it. And then she goes, I downloaded all the episodes and listened to it when I went to Vancouver. And I was like, oh my God. And I felt like, wow. Someone's like, she goes, it's great. And then she was telling other people about it too when we were at this like kid's birthday party, which shout out to Jasmine. You're an amazing supportive friend and I appreciate you. And I'm just like, I felt like almost taken off guard. I almost felt naked is the best way I could think of it.
Literally, I was like, because originally I was trying to edit the first podcast episode, which I didn't learn about microphones or anything prior. I was like, oh my God, is this what I sound like? And I felt like it was when like you had to do presentations, someone called on you to read. I was so stressed.
We were so nervous like at the beginning and then we were just like, hey, let's just like make this casual. And then once we actually got comfortable is when we started doing like podcast outlines and like coming up with like more ideas and like rolling with it and stuff like that. And I think that's like the whole thing is like you almost feel like embarrassed to talk about yourself. Oh my God, you know what this is? This is straight up imposter syndrome.
Well, and like even with Overwhelmed, like I'll wear stuff out. Like I have my phone case always has an Overwhelmed case on it.
Oh my God, I was gonna say, and our mom walks around her school like this sweater. My daughter's designed this sweater. You like my phone? She like puts her phone case down, puts her phone down, and just turns it over. And she's like, has her hand on, like, look at my adorable fucking phone case. Like, and that's the whole thing. She's so excited. She's the first person. And we've had a lot of people. We've had over 1,000 people when we do collections go to our website to view things and to purchase them. And a lot of you guys are from the States. A lot of you guys are from Ohio, Iowa, and we see, and like it's not that we can see who you are, but we can see that it's always the same amount of people coming back. So like we're doing our best, and the fact that you guys just fucking come in guns a-blazing every time is great and we really appreciate it. And sometimes I've looked at the analytics. Sometimes I think it's some of you folks who are listening, which we appreciate. So we'll figure it out. And I know we keep saying that we're doing it and we really are trying. A lot of people said too that you can call the CRA and talk to them. And honestly, I've never had a shitty person that I've talked to there.
Oh God, I've had the sweetest people. I don't know like who they hired recently, but what a ball of joy.
I had the sweetest person I was talking to the other day on the phone. What the hell did I have to call about? It wasn't the CRA. Who was it?
EI.
Oh, it was EI. And I was talking to, and she was so great. She's like, you sound like you're getting sick. And she's like giving me all these tips. And she's just really great. What I just love is like, and I know some people are like, oh my God, that must be Canada. No, it wasn't like this before. Something's like changed. So like, honestly, this sounds super cheesy, but like, shout out to the government for having real fucking people on the phone.
Oh my God. They are so delightful. But yeah, so I think like for me, it's just that like when I wear the shirts to work and stuff and somebody will be like, oh, where's that from? And I've been getting better at being like, oh, it's from my business. And like, there's been like a lot of people at work who have been asking about it. And like, I'm starting to like feel more confident in it. But it's really odd to be like promoting stuff of clothing when you're not super comfortable in your own body.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. Yeah.
But this is the whole thing is one of the things that you found is other than like the cute casual things we do for all the other people, we have an entire healthcare section of fun things that you can order.
Yeah.
And we're currently translating all the stuff over to the new distributor. So you'll see some stuff come off the website and then you'll see it come back on. And we have fun things. And if you just want to like change it up, like if you're like a physio, are you a physio? Well, cool. We have t-shirts, we have sweatshirts, we have crew necks, we have, I think the vests are just with the winter collection.
Oh, those were quarter zips.
Oh, quarter zips. Yeah. I'm like, so if we have stuff like that, because like Eve knows, we all know it's either cold or too hot. It's never an equal medium. And you can hop on there and they have fun things on them. And we have things for folks who are, I mean, we all appreciate the doctors and nurses that we have in our lives who do all those things. We also appreciate all the other people who work so hard in healthcare. And that's a big thing is we have those things that are around those as well. So give us a look. If you don't see your occupation represented, give us a shout. I did install, for the first time ever, fun small business things. I installed an AI bot. And I pre-programmed it with just very simple questions. And it'll pop up in the corner on the side. And one of them is even just like, why did you decide not to order today? Just because like if we have that information and if you're looking for a different style or if there's just something that you feel is like maybe too niche or whatever, we are open to literally all feedback. We will not come on here and bitch and complain or write anything on social media about any feedback that you have about our small business. Because we believe that feedback is gold.
Even if you're like, I would like a different color. Like, is there possible to get a different color in the ass? Or like anything. A lot of it too, like I'm excited too, because going into summer, I haven't said this, but I have a lot of plans of different designs that I want to do for healthcare and leading up to like the new school year and stuff like that, which I know it's April.
I really want to do stuff for teachers.
I think probably August, because then at will come, teachers, CEAs, RTs, like resource teachers, principals, vice principals, special ed teachers, like all of those ones.
There's stuff that's out there, but like I was talking to one of the moms because we were thinking about doing something for my daughter's teacher, and there's a lot of stuff out there, but some of this stuff is like a lot. Like it's like not every teacher is Ms. Frizzle. If I was a teacher though, I would be Ms. Frizzle.
Oh God, I love the amount of teachers that are like rocking like neon colored pants.
Okay, like I love that, but then there's some people who just want something that's kind of like subtle and fun or like a little bit more like simplistic, but more fun than just text on a thing. So I think that's like one big thing that we kind of like want to go on and touch in. We want to make sure that everyone is seen. And our big thing too is we try to make sure that a majority of the stuff that we have doesn't have a lot of like scratchy labels or anything like that to the best of our ability.
Or and it also, I think ours goes up usually from, like, the t-shirts at least go from extra small to 5XL.
Yeah.
And whenever the stock comes in for 5XL or any of the other ones, we make sure that the prices for an extra small versus 5XL are all the same.
Yeah.
Because we understand it's some more fabric and stuff like that, but I personally don't think it's fair if somebody wants to support a small business and they want a, like, 3XL shirt and it's $20 more.
Yeah, I obviously I agree with that. And the other thing is we want to make sure that we're doing stuff to, like, help represent other folks like ourselves, like people with dyslexia. That's myself, one of the many things. ADHD. Also, I haven't told Evie yet, but there's one sweater that I'm going to put out, and I think I'm going to put out, like, a limited edition sweatshirt. And it's for all those folks who really suffer during the spring. Are you stuffy? Do you have a million side effects to your allergy medication?
Are you personally victimized by your allergies?
Yes.
And then, like, yeah, like, I have a collection of things.
We have lots of ideas, but we always want to make sure that we're only launching. We, at one point, what was the first thing? We launched, like, 10 designs, and then we were like, we need to slow our fucking rolls.
No. We launched, so when we started, there was 27.
Yeah.
And that was 27 different designs. And respectfully, it did not have any cohesiveness. It was like and now it's kind of like with the, like, spring and summer one, we're gonna have specific colors for it.
Obviously not a shit ton of hoodies, because who wants to sweat their ass off in a hoodie?
Exactly. Like, there's going to be hoodies. There's not going to be certain things. So those types of things are what we're kind of figuring out. And, like, honestly, first year, like, we're not even into it. We're in our first year still. We're, like, 6 months in.
I was like, technically, we are only 6 months in, even though we've been working on all this other stuff before. So we're, like, always learning and growing. If you want to collab as another business, but I know one thing that I want to do within the next year. Do you know what that is, Eve?
Take over the world, Pinky.
Always. I want to do Burnt Out Perfectionist merch via Overwhelms the label. So I have a set of designs that I came out with that I think are cool. But obviously we would have other ones. I would love to do ones that are like our logo.
Okay, so I don't know if we've ever spoken about this. I designed the cover art for Burnt Out for the seasons.
Yes.
I designed the current one, and I, like, made the sweaters and everything, and now I want
one of the sweaters, but I really want a sweater that actually has, like, our logo, like our cover art for season 2 on it, because I love it.
I was quite proud of it.
I think it's sweet. I think we're, like, slowly, like, you find your vibe and you, like, grow as you go, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to stuff and just, like, learning everything. So, like, don't shit on yourself if stuff isn't taking off. I know you're probably seeing all this, like, UGC creator stuff. You're probably seeing digital marketing. You're seeing all these other things, and you know what? Like, there's more work behind things than what people say online, because it doesn't make it sound as fancy, and then you don't want to buy the course to do the thing. So this is us saying you can do the thing, and you can work really hard at doing the thing, and it may take hours, and you may have to have your full-time job, but, like, we are in full positive spirits that eventually this will take off, and we hope that we can just I hope that I can just be creative for a living. You know, Eve, she likes to help people health-wise.
If you start a business with your sibling, know that, like, Sarah and I have very, like, different personalities with things and perspectives on things. We dress similar. We have, like, specific things, but a big thing, too, is that you kind of, like, I'd say at the beginning, she was green and I was blue, and they are two very different colors. And now we're kind of, like, getting into the teal stage, where it's, like, you kind of know, like, the expectation or, like, kind of what the vibe is. But it is really hard because we're part of two different generation things. We're trying really hard to kind of get that back and forth. And it's gonna come with, like, some headbutting, but then you kind of figure out what you're wanting to do and how you want to do it.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like we don't actually butt heads. It'll be like, I like this.
Well, like we're not like fighting about it, but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't really like that.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like honesty is key, and we'll go along and we'll make stuff. And sure, we're making stuff based on things that we like and maybe other people do like, but we're not making it so niche that it's only us who like those things, right?
Yeah.
Like we sit and talk about all this stuff, and like I don't even know if you could stick us in even like a specific category when it comes to the podcast. I mean, there's only so many limited ones on each platform, but even when it comes to like overwhelmed, like sure, it's apparel, but we kind of vary in different areas because we want to make sure we see unseen, or we see an area of opportunity, or we get that idea spark, and like, why not just do the thing?
Also, like we have very different, like, I want to say like we almost have different like personalities for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So like we've talked about music during certain times of the year, and we've talked about like all of these different things that kind of got around it, that it's hard to determine when it's a niche. Like I feel like niches can't be too specific, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for listening.
And always stay warped and twisted as ever. Peace. Oh, I might click on the other.
Thank you so much for listening to us on YouTube. You can find us on all of the socials: Instagram, Pinterest,
TikTok,
Facebook.
If you're more of a like just an audio type person, we're on Spotify Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. I think we're on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and you can also check us out on the RSS feed.
Oh yeah,
which we also found out has its own website, which is pretty sick.
It is pretty sick. Well, thank you so much for listening, and feel free to go re-listen to some of the episodes that we have.